Ciao guys, today I go through the second layer of planks for the Sherburne model ship by Vanguard Models. What you're going to see here is quite similar to what you saw already in the previous video of the first planking. The logic is pretty much the same. The differences here are that you're not going to nail your plank directly to the bulkheads, but you're just going to push them against the first layer. Before we start, I want to show you a detail. Here, the end part of the pearwood bulwarks. I believe it was a bit better to slightly change the shape of this piece because, as we know, the hull is not straight, and at this point there is relatively a large curve. In this case, this creates a small step that you can see at the bottom of the bulwark. I start with applying the first planks from the bulwark, tapering at least the plank to 3 mm towards the bow, without much measuring at this point. Having applied the first planking helps me visualize the numbers of planks I should expect to have and more or less the shape I should give to them. The point where I should start tapering the plank can be measured starting from the largest gap between the bulwark and the plank, and then you can simply lay the plank to the keel and check the point that intersects with the bulwark. Believe me, it's harder to explain. This gives you the 2 points of the cut. For holding the plank still, you can use both custom pins that have similar thickness of your plank or just use regular pin. I prefer using these huge fake metal pins. I then start with the garboard strake, which is the first plank from the keel. I do not taper this plank, and I add 2 more from here which I slightly tapers toward the bow. At this point I can start measuring the perimeter of all the bulkheads, or better, the distance between the 2 planks from the bulwark and from the keel, to understand how many planks should fit in each of them. This is a step you might already know from other video I made about the hull planking. This step is pretty straightforward and is very helpful. For hull this small is maybe even the best method out there. You might find yourself in a similar situation like mine where you can fit 5.5 planks of 4 mm in the master bulkhead. That half plank is a problem because it would be too little compared to other planks, so I need to reduce a bit the size of the other planks right in the middle basically. So to achieve that, I need to reduce the size of the whole plank. I use a Proxxon KS230 circular saw at this point to bring the planks to 3 mm instead of the original 4 mm. The last plank is the showdown where all your measurement mistakes come to light. It's not because there is something wrong, but with straight planks like this, you are going to accumulate small errors which will end up transforming your last plank into a weird shaped plank. Not a big deal though. In this case, my last plank is not even that weird. Be sure to fix the tape to your working mat so it won't move during the cutting process. I shaped the plank using a knife freehand and then I sand it while trying to fit it. Kind of a trial and error game. You can also use a French curve ruler at this point. If the plank is slightly bigger than the slot it should fit in, it's perfectly fine. Now that you have all the elements for correctly completing the hull, you can sand it down. You can sand it down manually or using a mouse sander. In this case I do it manually since the planks are not that thick. For finishing I use shellac. You can find it online in two versions, already prepared or that you can prepare yourself. I use a small brush to cover the whole hull. It's not very common to use a brush, I know, but I find it very useful to cover all the small spots. After applying the first coat, I sand it and I apply the second coat. I use a 2/0 metal sponge for doing the sanding process. Using this won't actually really sand the hull like with a sandpaper, but it will give a nice smooth finish. You're going to love this. Finally, the two whales. Those are not that easy to install. First, because you don't have many anchor points in that precise spot, and second, because I believe the shape of them is not 100% accurate. I use 2 small drops of cyanoacrylate to fix it to the bow, and then I use white glue to glue the rest. And that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the planking of the Sherburne by Vanguard models. Subscribe to the channel to support me, and I will see you in the next video.